Do you ever watch other people on the subway? It's so strange to have to ignore someone who's right up there in your face. A can of sardines springs to mind, except passengers aren't joined by a bond of thick oil or brine. Instead, they're stewing in a miasma of sweat, cologne, and annoyance. Everybody absorbed in their own little worlds, warm little cocoons. There, whizzing through the bowels of the city at a brisk clip, you'll find people reading books, newspapers, maybe on a PlayStation Portable, maybe a smartphone. Except me. I'll always be looking through the thick glass windows at the flickering blackness just beyond. Sometimes late at night, I hope I'll get on the same train once more so I can see it all again. It had been one of those weeks, actually, it had been one of those months, where the targets piled up like so much dirty laundry. The boss was on my case. Miserable, balding fart with his mortgage and his European sports car, writing us all for another bullshit project for some client across the country. The days and nights lost their meaning. In at work early to beat the crowd, heading home without ever seeing the light of the sun. Caffeine was my only friend. The last thing on the agenda for the workday was the mad sprint for the last train home because the miserable bastard wouldn't even sign off on the late night taxi claims. It showed up on the work-life balance indicators, he'd said. It had been another mindless day of numbers, presentation slides, and text. To be frank, I didn't even know if the version of the meaningless report I was working on was the 5th or the 50th, nor could I have told you the difference between the two. The office had already emptied out an hour before, my last coworkers giving me a commiserating pat on the back as they headed off. I cursed as I stuffed my laptop and swept my papers into my bag. I was going to miss the train. The stale warmth of the building gave way to the bitter cold as I hit the streets running. The station was deserted, not unthinkable at this time of the night, but eerie all the same. There's something about a hollow space meant for crowds. I'm not talking about muggers or anything like that. There's an air of the forbidden about these empty spaces. That's how that night started out, expectant, waiting for something to happen. Not that I cared at the time. The escalators were out for the night. I was wheezing hard by the time I got to the bottom. That college fitness long drowned under an ocean of booze, buried under a mountain of fast food. I thought the last train had already left, resigning myself to a long wait for an expensive taxi ride back. I was about to leave when a train pulled up with the familiar scream of metal on metal. Graffiti adorned the gray skin of the train, tribal tattoos for the modern locomotive. The doors hissed. Warm air belched from the cabin. I got in. The train, strangely, was full. Not packed, but it was crowded. I found myself a seat in between an old man in a large brown overcoat and a young lady that was wearing a dark, formal dress, a large flower pinned to her breast, her face a mask of mascara and eyeshadow, inexpertly applied. Across from me sat a pair of army guys in fatigues, their scalps shining pink under the tight buzz cuts, and many more besides. It was a puzzling thing to have a cabin so full late at night, and with such a motley crew of inhabitants. With a shudder, the train pulled out from the station. I settled back contentedly into my seat. The network connection in the tunnels was never dependable. I had to find another way to entertain myself on the ride home. The noise from the screech of the rails and the rush of air outside seemed muted. Instead, the cabin was filled with a soft susurrus, the hushed tones of a crowd in a theater, expectant but subdued. The cabin felt colder than it should have been. Was the heating out again? It couldn't be. I was certain that the cabin was warmer than a platform a second ago, yet now, it felt like I was back outside in the howling cold. I jugged my jacket a little tighter. I looked at the hodgepodge of strange individuals in the cabin. Everybody seemed out of place. Why would there be a gaggle of high school kids obviously inebriated this late at night? Or that waifish girl that was wearing what seemed to be a school uniform? I shifted uncomfortably on the sculpted plastic seat. Not a single mobile phone or any other electronic device in sight. A strange sight in this day and age. I looked up at the row of LED lights that indicated the train's progress along my route. 4 more stops. I was still staring at the display when the train whizzed by the next station. It didn't stop, didn't even slow down, just kept going right. The lights and pillars of the station streamed by in a blur. I jerked upright in my seat, my eyes widening. What kind of train had I gotten on? The rest of the crowd was unfazed by this development. If anything, the low buzz of whispers got even louder as the train progressed. We were still hurtling through the dark tunnel, the overhead lights flickering on and off, when the little girl in the school uniform affixed me, stared at me, wide-eyed. She crept over to the group of high schoolers and tugged at the sleeve of one of the young men. He must have been a basketball player, towering over his companions. He nearly had to bend double to bring his ear down to the little girl's face. Her jaw worked up and down as she whispered something to him, urgently. I heard nothing over the sound of the train. He blinked, and took a step back when he looked back in my direction, as though seeing me for the first time. His handsome face twisted strangely. Was it anger? No. He looked like he wanted something. He looked hungry. His compatriots noticed the break in the conversation and directed their gazes to the focus of his attention. To me. The same gamut of emotions cycled through their faces, shock and then a sharpening and hardening of their features. They were hungry too? The giant took a step forward, perhaps meaning some harm for some slight on his person that I must have committed. One of the high school girls held him back. The feeling spread through the cabin, like a spark arcing from person to person, the 2 uniformed men looking up and tightening their jaws, the old man next to me perking up and scooting down another seat so that he could look at me without straining his neck. Outside, a blur of lights told me that another station had shot by. 3 more stops. I shrank back in my seat, the tendons straightening at the surface of my hands as I clutched at my back protectively, as though that stupid gesture grabbing onto my work, the focus of my life, would ground me and take me from this nightmare. It didn't. I felt the weight of their eyes on me, like insects crawling over my skin. Something was wrong. So clearly wrong. This strange crowd, so different, yet each of them was wearing that naked need on their face. "Don't mind them, they're just jealous of you," the young lady by my side said. Her voice was soft, mellifluous. "Don't stare back and don't talk to them." I turned to look at my new companion. What are they jealous of? I just wanted to catch the last train home. "It's the last train home for all of us too." She smiled. She was very pale, very beautiful. "But not all of them want to be here, and looking at you, going home tonight, makes them so very unhappy." Where'd they all come from? Was there a convention, a meeting? I cast my eyes around the cabin again, but was stopped halfway by her strong fingers on my chin. Her fingers were icy cold. She turned my head around to her face. Everywhere, all around, most of them didn't want to be here, except me, maybe. I'd had enough where I was. I miss my parents. I haven't seen them in such a long time. It took a while for me to gather enough courage to go look for them. She paused, suddenly pensive at what she'd said. "You're not meant to be here, you know. You're on the wrong train. This isn't your ride." Outside the window, another station went by. My eyes flicked back to the board with all the lights. 2 stops to home. The whispering in the cabin had started up again, louder than before, but still muffled by the sounds of the rails and the rushing air outside. They were talking about me. The atmosphere grew oppressive. The attention of the crowd felt like a rock on my chest, a vice. My breathing grew labored, each inhalation a struggle. I wheezed. My companion sensed my discomfort. "I wish I could help," she said, sadly. "It'll stop when we get to the end of the line, I suppose." Her eyes lit up at that thought. She turned around and scooted up onto the seat, her knees on the hard plastic, palms on the cold glass. Even with her face pressed up against the glass, there wasn't a trace of fog on the window left by her breath, if she was even breathing at all. "Here, why don't you take this? I don't need it where I'm going." She fumbled at her dress, detached the white flower, and pressed it into my hands. The sweet smell of the lily took my attention away from the pain in my chest. "We're here." She was quivering with excitement as the train began to slow. I looked up at the board overhead. All the lights on the map had gone out. Where were we? She cupped my chin in her hands. It was only then, with her arms so close to my face, that I saw the network of fine, white lines that crisscrossed her forearms. She caught the flick of my eyes towards her arms. She shrugged, sheepish. "Practice makes perfect," she said. She frowned, suddenly serious again. "This stop is for the rest of us. You can't join us. You have to stay here." She leaned forward quickly and gave me a kiss on the cheek. Her cold lips burned like an ice cube. The people in the cabin quickly turned their attention to the approaching platform. I felt the weight on my chest again. The whispering grew to a crescendo as they pointed and chattered excitedly. The platform drew close, and what a sight it was. I didn't recognize the tiles or the posters. I must have taken this train 1,000 times. I could have closed my eyes and named every station in order and the time between stations if I wanted to, and yet I was lost. There was nothing on the platform that helped in any way. No signs, no directions. What the platform had was people, a milling sea of heads and faces, all expectant, all eagerly waiting. When the door opened, it let in the roar of a crowd outside, shouts, shrieks, and yells, and tears. So many tears. The passengers burst out of the train, throwing themselves into the waiting sea of people. I saw one of the army boys embracing an older gentleman, also dressed in military fatigues. None of that new age stuff that pixelated camouflage. This was old school, with big green and brown blotches. The resemblance between the two was clear. They parted, the younger man introducing his father to his compatriot. The older man hugged him as tightly as he had hugged his own son earlier. The group of teenagers whooped and leapt as they pushed through the crowd, seeking some new adventure for the night. I caught a last glimpse of the blonde locks of the basketball players as they vanished around a corner. The old man that was sitting by me had found an elegant-looking lady in her 30s. Her light sundress looked out of place for the biting colds of winter. Or had I mistaken the man for someone else? I looked again, and it wasn't the old man anymore, but a young couple laughing in the prime of their lives. No, it was the same coat, and his features, lined with a jealous greed scant moments ago, were now lit with a fierce joy. Just as the train doors hissed shut, I saw the girl that sat next to me on the train. She was in tears with her arms around a well-dressed couple. She waved at me as the train pulled out of the station. I waved back. My legs shook as I got off the train at my stop. The platform was reassuringly deserted. I watched as the train screeched into the distant darkness of the tunnel. I gingerly touched the numb spot on my cheek where the girl had kissed me. My fingers came away wet. I didn't even remember the tears falling. My nose was suddenly assaulted by a rich, thick greenhouse scent. Decaying plant matter. I fished out the lily from my coat pocket where the strange girl had left it. The pristine white petals were dry to the point of crumbling and speckled black with rot. I let it fall from my fingers and watched it bounce on the station floor. It sat there like an unmelting snowflake on the pocked, gray concrete. I stared at it for a long moment before I began the long trek home. I'm awake now. I don't recall falling asleep, and I'm not real sure how I got into bed, but I'm awake now. There's a very distant ringing in my ears, sort of like the aftermath of a concussive blast that makes you deaf, only this ringing seems far off inside my head. Must have had a rough night, I suppose, although honestly I can't really recall the previous evening, or any evening for that matter. Yep, must have been one hell of a night. I roll out of bed and my feet hit the cold, hard tile floor of my bedroom. Rubbing my hands over my face, I try to shake the cobwebs of sleep and whatever I may have drank last night out of my head. Glancing out of the nearby window of the bedroom, I see a gloomy, overcast sky and a light rain falling on the leafless forest of trees that surrounds my property. Is it fall? I honestly can't remember. I swear to God, I'll never drink that much again. I've made that hollow promise 100 times before, I'm sure. I've made that same hollow promise 100 times before, I'm sure. Moving off of the bed, I walk down the hall and descend the staircase that leads to the main level of the house, the top 3 stairs creaking under my weight, as they always do. Moving down the stairs, I can see outside through the Amityville horror-style windows over the entryway that the drizzle and clouds have settled in and are likely going to be hanging around a while. I'm not going to go to work today. Wait, I don't have to work today, right? It's the weekend, isn't it? I shake my head vigorously and make that same hollow promise to God again. This day is going to be far worse than my night must have been. The kitchen has a digital clock, so I stumble into it to check the day and time just to be sure I don't need to call in sick. Clock says 9 a.m. I'm late if it's a weekday, and it's Sunday. Excellent. Time to crash on the couch and do nothing. My God, I'm tired. The couch is calling my name right now. I leave the kitchen and move through the archway into the living room, noticing that the hardwoods are just as cold as the tiled floors upstairs. A small shiver moves up my spine, and I make a turn towards the thermostat to crank the heat up before lying down and covering up with the throw blanket hanging over the back of the couch. The worn, cold leather of the couch creaks under my weight. I hear the familiar click of the thermostat as the heat kicks on, and I pull the blanket in tighter, close my eyes, and try to fall asleep. Maybe this hangover, worst one I've ever had, and I still can't remember the party. Hell yeah, we'll be gone after a good late morning nap. The whispers start immediately. I bolt upright on the couch, throwing the blanket aside as I do, and scan the room. Aside from me, the living room is empty. The upstairs bathroom fan is running. Did I leave it on? Did I even go in the bathroom this morning? I sneak quietly from the living room, through the kitchen, and peek around the corner, silent as a church mass. I had to have been a ninja in a past life or something. I look up the stairs and see that the bathroom light is on, and the exhaust fan is definitely running. Maybe I destroyed the toilet last night and left it running to kill the smell before stumbling to bed. I think. But the whispering starts again, and it's coming from the bathroom. No time for subtlety now. So I bolt up the stairs, the top 3 creaks as usual, and burst into the bathroom. If there's someone in here, they are about to get their ass kicked, but the bathroom is empty, and the whispering has stopped. Okay, I'm far more hungover than I thought. I flip the bathroom wall switch to kill the lights and the fan, then realize my bed isn't far away at all. Sleep. I need sleep. I'm so tired. The bed is there in my room, dark and inviting. I'll just sleep this off and wake up feeling much better. Time for that nap. I lay down on the bed, sinking into the mattress like butter melting onto a hot pan, pull the covers up to my chin, close my eyes, and sleep. Or, at least I think I went to sleep. I'm definitely awake, but I don't recall falling asleep or dreaming. The darkness has crept into the room like a stealthy thief, casting shadows on the far wall that look like demons ready to jump out their two-dimensional wall canvas and attack as full-blown three-dimensional horrors. Must be nighttime, because I can't see anything through the window, but I can still hear the faint pattering of the rain on the roof. I throw the blankets back, I sit up and rub my face again, still tired and groggy, and hungover. I leave the demons behind me on the bedroom wall and head to the bathroom. The light is still off, so I flip it on. The light from the molded glass fixture dances all over like little crystal ballerinas, and the exhaust fan comes on. I sneak a peek into the toilet. Nope, no prayers offered up to the porcelain god in here, I think to myself, as I turn to the mirror to face myself and dreading the sight I will behold in this rough state. Sounds from downstairs freeze me in my tracks. It is the unmistakable sound of silverware on plates. Someone is eating dinner in my house. The top 3 stairs creak once again as I fly down to the first floor, burst into the kitchen, throwing the door wide as I enter, and head towards the dinner table by the bay window. There are plates there, remnants of a half-eaten meal on each of them, but whoever was here eating my food left in a hurry when they heard me coming. The hardwood floor leading to the front door sounds like a herd of elephants is holding a track meet on it. The bastards are running out of the front door. As I quickly head to the entryway, I see the door close and hear the deadbolt click into place. They have a key. They must have, because they just locked the door from the outside. I peer through the stained glass window slits that sit on either side of the front door, but I cannot see anyone in the cold, black, rain-soaked night. Enjoy the weather, you pieces of shit. The idea that someone was in my house, eating my food, and has a key, disturbs me. There were clearly more than one, and while my past life ninja skills might help me fight them if they return, I don't want to pin my survivability hopes on reincarnation theory. Besides, I'm just so tired. Let the cops do their job. I grab the phone off of the wall and dial 911. Nothing. I hang up and try again. Still nothing. There's no dial tone. Did they cut the lines? Bastards. Now I'm pissed. They were in my house eating my food, and now they've cut the phone lines. Well, they don't have a car because I would have heard it fire up and drive off. Their asses are mine. As I storm out of the kitchen towards the front door, I leave a trail of dinner plates, silverware, half-eaten food, and anything else on the counters strewn on the floor. The dull ringing in my ears has intensified a bit. I'm tired and groggy, but I don't care. I'm pissed. I open the front door so fast I don't even feel the brass handle in my palm. It slams shut behind me, taking long, determined strides into the fog-covered front yard. Seems the rain has let up. I start scanning for assholes and elbows because I'm sure those fuckers are running away. I spend the next hour searching the yard along the tree line, but don't find any sign of people. Whoever they were, they're long gone now, and damn it, I'm still tired as hell. I don't have time for this. As I head back to the house, I notice the lights on the entryway are on. They cast a glowing image of those Amityville windows above the doorways onto the stone slab porch and front yard. And the front door is open. I don't remember closing it, but I know I heard it slam shut behind me. I break into a full run and charge into the house, stirring up a vortex of wet dead leaves in my wake. I notice that the ringing in my ears has increased in intensity, and I can hear the din of whispers over the tone in my head. As I storm onto the cold, slick floors of the entryway, I see 3 people. The first is clearly a priest of some sort. He's holding up a rosary with one hand and has a small opened Bible in the other. The second person is a short, sad-looking woman with a floor-length coat pulled tight around her. its fur-lined trim and collar cinched closed with little wooden pegs. The third person is my daughter. I almost forgot I have a daughter. How could I forget her? She's beautiful, standing there in front of me. I have a tremendous sense of loss and realize I miss her so much, but cannot figure out why. Didn't I just see her the other day? Well, didn't I? Images of a beach, the warm, salty air on a windy day flashed through my mind. My little girl is there and we're flying a kite. I can hear the waves crashing onto the sugar sand shore and my daughter laughing as we run through the surf, flying a kite. It was a great day, and she was so young, beautiful, and full of life. She's crying now, mouth covered by her hands as she scans the area of the entryway we're all standing in. She looks at me quickly, then her gaze moves on, searching, but for what? The sad little woman with the fur-trimmed coat, however, looks right at me. She has a grim look on her face as she pats the priest on the shoulder and shakes her head. The priest stops waving that stupid rosary around, goes silent, and then moves to hold my daughter as if to console her. "He is here," says the short woman. My daughter lets out a sob and the ringing in my ears gets loud. "He is confused and angry. He doesn't understand yet." My daughter uncovers her mouth and her lips quiver. She squints her eyes as if to hold back more tears. "Can he hear me? What's he saying?" she asks. The short woman shakes her head. "It doesn't work like that. He can hear you, yes, but I don't hear what he says. Just emotions, feelings. You can speak to him." My little girl, little no longer as I realize she's a full-grown woman now, wipes tears away from her eyes, sniffles and offers a smile. I sort of laugh because she must think she's looking at me, but instead, she's looking just off to my left. But why wouldn't she be able to look right at me? I'm standing right in front of them all. "Dad, you can go now. We're going to be okay. Mom and I love you and miss you so much, but you have to go. You'll be better off." My daughter laughs a little and smiles, that smile I always love to see. "Don't worry. I won't let Mom sell the house. I know you love it." The ringing in my ears is nearly deafening now, but I don't care. Why is she talking to me like this? Why does she want me to leave? Why is she not the 10-year-old girl from my memory? I begin screaming these questions to her. The ringing has become full-blown pain in my head, but I don't care. I press my hands to my ears, trying to block out the noise, and continue screaming my questions at my daughter. The short woman shakes her head again. She casts a sad look towards my daughter. "He's angry. He's screaming at you. I can't hear the words, but he doesn't understand why you're saying these things. He's very, very confused. He doesn't know it is time to move on from this life." Wait, what did she just say? I stop screaming and lower my hands. The ringing in my ear is subsiding and instead begins a slow descent into a single harmonious tone. What does she mean? That it's time to move on. My daughter smiles again. I've missed that so much. "Daddy, we love you. It's time for you to move on. You can't keep scaring the hell out of Mom and I. We appreciate you staying with us to make sure we're okay, and we are. But you need to go." Behind my daughter, the kitchen doorway suddenly flares to life with the brightest light I've ever seen. Pure, clean, inviting. That harmonious tone grows louder, not painful, but inviting. I look away into the three people standing before me. They don't see the light. It beckons me, so I begin to walk towards it. The short woman pats my daughter's hand and nods her head. Her smile tells me she knows what's happening, even if I don't. I move closer to the light. Its beams of white falling over me like long, loving arms, pulling me into their embrace. The tunnel entrance is so close now, but I stop and turn to look at my daughter one last time. I mouth the words "I love you," knowing that no sound will come from my lips. The short woman whispers to my daughter. She sobs briefly, then says, I love you too, Daddy. I step into the tunnel and let the light take me. My tunnel isn't very long, and the light near the end begins to shift. I can smell warm, salty air, and I hear the crash of waves on a sugar sand shore. My little girl giggles. Have you ever visited Edinburgh? Beautiful city, no matter what time of year you go. The castle that sits at the center of the city is awe-inspiring, looking down on the surrounding area from the mount. The peaks and valleys of the land have resulted in a city that flows with the landscape. Streets that surround can be steep, with the numerous sprawling alleyways even steeper. It's here that we find Flesh Market Close. It could be mistaken for any other darkened causeway in the city. It sits among the shops and tourist traps, relatively non-threatening, and can be used as a shortcut to get down to the station if you're in a hurry. The name has been justified through some who point out that flesh markets were a local term for butchers, and through others who suggest it was a hangout for women of the first vocation. These are incorrect. There is a market on the close, but flesh is not the product, it's the currency. Market hours are dusk until dawn, and the entrance fee is one mouthful of your own blood. Prepare a glass and progress down the alley. As you get halfway down, swig from the glass and spit it against the wall. The blood will bubble and spread across the wall, coagulating into a hardened scab. This will then start to flake and scatter. A rather anticlimactic door will be revealed beneath. Stepping through is disorienting, as logic will tell you you're stepping into a building. The space you're stepping into has no walls, with darkness shrouding the edges. It's at the penumbra that a number of stalls are set up, run by individuals who look like market traders from across the globe. From Arabian merchants to Cockney grocers to New York street conmen, all of their clothes are splattered with blood. These figures will entice you to come speak with them and will gesture to numerous signs around their walls regarding the sales they are currently having. Upon approaching one of the stalls, they will start to pressure you to make a deal with them. You are certainly welcome to do so, and the products that are available are certainly worth consideration. Starting at the cheap end of the spectrum, you may wish to offer one breath. A lungful will net you knowledge of the weather for the next day, in itself a rather pointless percher in this age of smartphones and the Met Office, but centuries ago, invaluable. Taking this offer will result in the seller reaching out with his hand flattened, then quickly grasping it into a fist. The air will literally be stolen from your lungs and cause a few moments of gasping as you catch your breath. Are you attached to your fingers? How attached? I mean, do you reckon you could do without your little finger? This sale will provide you an instant forgiveness from any one person you desire for any wrongs you may have encroached against them. Agreeing to this one will cause the trader to grin and shout, "One Yubitsume special coming right up." They will lunge forward and grab your wrist, pinning it to the table. Don't resist, because no one likes a tough sell. A flash of steel and you'll be minus one digit. Just remember, you can only pay twice. Now, make no mistake, it will hurt. There will probably be a lot of blood, and if you don't take care of the wound, it may even get infected. As the price goes up, you may want to consider taking precautions regarding what you trade. Tourniquets and sutures would certainly not go amiss. Now, some of the trades will seem familiar and may hark back to stories and legends that have existed for millennia. This is the influence the market has had on our culture, leaching in over the centuries. A pound of flesh will make it impossible for the next person you make a trade with to renege on the deal. Especially useful if you don't trust the company you keep. It has no use within the market, as all of the traders here are trustworthy and will honor a purchase to the letter and the spirit. Best to leave this transaction until last. How about one of your eyes? Depth perception is overrated anyway. Offering up one of them will allow you to converse with our avian friends. You'll be able to call down the birds from the trees, and they'll be able to answer any questions you may have. It is advisable that you avoid ravens. They have their own agenda, and it's not in your best interests. The salesman will grab you around the throat and slowly prise his fingers into the socket. A snap of the wrist and your visual organ will rest in their palm. Another snap, and it will disappear. It is at this point where you may want to consider stronger measures to ensure your survival of payment. In this strange little world of ours, the market is hardly the strangest. Artifacts and incantations exist that can allow the body to continue to function long past the point at which mortal coils would be shuffled from. One or two can be picked up here, but few are willing to live without their sexual organs. It seems eternity is that little bit colder without the ability to get your rocks off. I'm not going to go into the details as to how they're taken, suffice to say that it is unpleasant and messy. At this point, the prices become a little more vital. What would you take for your stomach? In this deal, it would merit you the ability to understand the desires of anyone you talk to. While you converse with them, your mind will be filled with the images of that which they covet the most. This would provide a significant advantage to any budding salesman, and the deal has been taken up by several of the stall holders themselves. Some may argue that such a gift would be more poetically suited to the heart. That vascular muscle, however, is a part of an altogether different deal. By bartering with your heart, you can guarantee the happiness of any given individual for the rest of their life, however long that may be. The removal of these types of organs can be significantly painful, but the dealers will allow you a moment to prepare yourself before they will produce a short, keen blade. One practice swipe later, and they will be digging into your tissue. They have unerring accuracy and a level of cleanliness that rivals any surgeon. Now, it's acknowledged in some places that once the deal has been sealed, a buyer may have second thoughts and may want to back out. This is not one of those places. Most of the contract is left unspoken, but you're expected to have done your research. The buyout clauses are a killer. While most of the body can be put on the table, there are limitations. The fact of the matter is that the brain is the seat of sentience and cannot be fully placed in. I say fully. There was one individual who offered to lobotomize the part of the brain that holds memory as a part of the deal. The problem is he cannot remember what it is he received in return. I hear he suffered night terrors for the rest of his life. Now at this point I offer a warning. Up until now, I've detailed a price list for your own body parts. Whatever you do, do not attempt to purchase anything in the market with organs of another. Every figure in the market will stop and stare at you, and the one you attempted to defraud will scream, "That is not yours to trade." Whatever it is you try to barter with, that body part will be taken from you as punishment. A very literal eye for an eye. Despite whatever theological perspectives you may hold, offering your own soul will elicit the same result. There may have been many theories postulated for this response, but the honest answer is we just don't know. The market has been trading in blood and bone for as long as civilization has existed, though the entrance has moved from city to city. Many have visited and shook hands with the butchers, though not quite as many got those hands back. A smart man would wonder how it is that these individuals are capable of honoring the deals they broker. A smarter man would ask himself why his body parts are of such high value in this economy. Just understand that it is supply and demand. And as long as there are fools willing to supply, you shouldn't need to concern yourself with who is doing the demanding.